You're listening to Tonebenders, the Sound Designers Podcast. Let's do this.
Welcome to Tonebenders. My name is René Coronado, and with me today, as always, it's Tim Muirhead. Hey, Tim.
Hey, René. How you doing?
And we have a special guest, field recordist and sound designer, Watson Wu. Hey, Watson, how are you, man?
I'm very good. How are you?
Doing great. So, a little while back, I was in the throes of crunch time, and Tim sent me an email with some footage that you had put up of doing a car drop. And then and he said, we need to talk to Watson about this. And I said, absolutely. And then I completely forgot. And then independently, I saw something else that you put up on Instagram of the car drop again. And I emailed Tim and I was like, oh my God, we have to get Watson on so we can talk about this. So here we all are today. You were doing car drops. You were doing it for the game Ring of Elysium. Let's talk about what your role was on the game and what the process was of getting sounds for that game.
Sure. So if you were to purchase all the needed sounds for a game, you might have to purchase this library or that library, and they're very inconsistent as far as what kind of mics, placements, distances, the way the location sounds. So Tencent approached me and said we need all these sounds recorded so that we have all the needed sounds, and we don't have to go and scour the world to find those sounds through libraries. So they tasked me to really source them out and record them for the big title.
And you did weapons and vehicles, right?
Yeah, weapons, vehicles, suspension sounds, tires on multiple surfaces, and car crashes. So yeah, it was a big project.
How far along was the game in development when you got contacted for it?
It was pretty far into it. I think just like a lot of companies, unfortunately, sound is always forgotten. Or we need sounds now. Oh, we have to ship in 6 or 8 months. Oh, we better get started. So when they contacted me, they said we need to start this right now. So we did a short, fast negotiation, and I called my contacts up and got this going. So there were a lot of weapons, a lot of different vehicles, and they were pretty specific what they wanted, and some that I interjected based on my experience what might sound better.
I love the example of how kind of last minute it was, is that you had to go and record a snowmobile, but it was July.
Yeah. It was comical. I met one of them when I was in Hong Kong, and he said, "Hey, we want snowmobile." And at that time, it was month of May. And I'm like, June's around the corner, and I'm pretty sure North America, we won't have any snow anywhere. And while we talked about it, we just need the sounds of the snowmobile. We could add sounds of the snow later on during post, add into the game. So, yeah, I called everyone, and everybody was like, it's not snowing anymore. I said, yeah, I know it's not snowing. But I need the sounds of snowmobile. I said, well, they're in storage. So I understand that. I want to pay you to bring it down to storage, pay you real money, and pay somebody real money to operate it while I record at a very quiet location. So I found a place in Montana, and I flew out there to capture snowmobiles without snow in July. Yeah.
So how did you go about doing it?
This place rents out and they service snowmobiles. So we found a quiet location and we lifted the rear end so that the track could freely run. That way you could really capture what the snowmobile does during the performance. So I had microphones on the vehicle and close, far, and medium distances away, so that if you were riding a snowmobile, you're going to hear other people approaching you with different snowmobiles. So you can hear them coming closer and closer to you, so that you need to, get out of the way to survive. It's a survival game. So you're hearing the onboard and then hearing the externals coming towards you or not. So we had to capture all those sounds needed for this game.
So we should mention real quick that you did a blog post with Audio Connect that has videos of a lot of these recordings, and we will put a link to that blog post up on our site for this episode. So if you go to www.tonebenderspodcast.com and navigate to this episode from Watson Woo, you can find the link and go see all the videos of a lot of the stuff that we'll be talking about in the next little while here.
This is Watson Woo. I am in Bozeman, Montana to record a snowmobile.
So as you were getting your coverage, did the designers and the implementers kind of already have an idea of what they needed, or did they have to collaborate with you as far as like what kind of coverage they needed for functional vehicles in the game?
Both. You know, a lot of designers have a lot of ideas, but sometimes they don't work in the real world. So they said we want this close and we want that far. So well, that far you're not going to hear it. I mean, snowmobiles can be loud, but they're not like a NASCAR race car that you're going to hear it a mile away. So I told them you have to be a lot closer in reality to get the real distinct sound. So I know what my microphones can do. So I chose ones that made it sound like it could be quite further away than what they are. So. So I had to tell them that, we're not going to go that far, because if you do, you can't crank up the recording gain. You're going to hear a lot more hiss than snowmobile.
What kind of mics did you use?
Wow, there were so many. I have the Neumann 82i shotgun mic, which reaches really far and very direct. I think that was the furthest mic. I have the Sennheiser 418S. I love MS stereo mics, so that you could really take advantage of mid and side and combine for narrow or wide stereo. So I'm a huge fan of MS. I had a Pearl microphones brand. It's a Swedish mic for the close distance. So again, you have the mid and side for processing. So yeah, why record mono when you could do stereo, really, and take advantage of all that. And on board, I had the DPA 4061. I had I'm trying to remember. There were so many things used, and so many things have gone by since then, last year. So yeah, those are the basic mics I used for that particular session.
So I've heard of that Pearl mic, but I haven't heard it. It's actually it's one of those that I don't get to see very much out there. What's your impression of it?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's always with me. It is the mic to have. It's so small. I think it's only 7.5 inches long, and it's an MS mic. So. What's great about it is it captures incredible high frequencies. So if thinking back, I wish some of the rock bands would have recorded their solo guitar, those high-pitched solo guitars with that mic, and it would have been more pleasant to listen to those solo parts. It doesn't hurt your ears. So with this microphone, you can capture all that and also capture the lows. So, and I think it's one of my favorite Beach Waves microphone. If you watch Castaway, a lot of the beach sounds use that same brand model microphone. So if you watch Castaway again, listen to the beach sounds, it's very, very pleasant, very enjoyable. I just love that mic.
Nice.
And it's small. You can always take it with you anywhere.
I love the conversation about the mic, but honestly, I want to get into the car drop. So like. To get into the actual car drop, that's one of my personal holy grails. Like, it's something that I've never had the opportunity to do. I would do it without a project. I would just do it just so that I could say I did it once. And I've had the hardest time figuring out the logistics of it in my part of the world. So what I'd love to hear from you is your thought process and the actual kind of people process that you had to go through to get the car drop happening?
Well, there are a lot of junkyards in Florida and various parts of America, but again, it's location. Is it quiet on certain days? Is it on those certain days, are they quiet enough? So, and also based on the game. The game, I asked Tencent to send me the videos of the actual vehicle crashes into each other, into objects, and it was third person point of view. So I lay my microphones based on those short distances, but not from a first person point of view. So I asked a lot of context people who are into construction, who know other people, race car people. So through a friend of a friend, got me in touch with this junker in Miami that allowed me to rent them a whole day on a Sunday when they're closed. And knowing Miami is not a quiet place, but on a Sunday in this industrial area, it is very quiet. It's quiet enough that when the car impacts on each other on the ground, it just that's all it is. It's just a car crash without traffic in the background. So, and the location has pretty high walls, I guess, to prevent theft and things like that. So we were able to rent it out and select a middle location to do all the drops of the cars. So yeah, I was fortunate to know certain people who knew certain people that could give me access for me to pay them for that service. And they had a great time doing that.
So did you pay them like upfront? Like, do you get a receipt for this, or is this all under the table? Like, how above board are we going here?
Oh yeah, it's all legal. Nothing's illegal. I give them a check and we shake hands, and I told them I give them a check when we were done.
Excellent.
My friend trusts him, and my friend vouched for me. So and they got to see what I do through my website and social media, so they knew I'm legit. I'm not just gonna drop a bunch of vehicles for fun, but I'm having fun as well, of course. But to capture the essence of a real car crashes. So yeah, I was fortunate I got access, and I have a new contact from that. So for future crashes, I will go there again because they were very accommodating for my needs.
So how do you go about picking the state of the cars you're going to crash? Do you want one that's already beat up, or do you want as pristine a body of the car as you can find?
Well, you definitely want vehicles that are very heavy as in more than 4,000 pounds heavier. So we chose the Chrysler Pacifica, and moreover, these cars don't really have a great resale value compared to a Camaro or a Lexus, things like that. So they were like, hey, let's do Chrysler and Dodge today only. I said, that's fine. If they're heavy, they make a good sound, let's go ahead and drop them. So they said, yeah, if you get a door from that Camaro, well, that door could resell for $800. I said, wow, that's actually pretty good just for one door. So let's go ahead and do the Dodge and Chrysler cars. So, and by dropping them for me to hear, I liked how they sound. That's how they sounded. So let's do it. Let's crash those Dodge and Chryslers.
Did you have to buy the cars that you were crashing, or were those just junkers that they were making available to you?
Those are the ones they made available for me because I did ask what kind of cars. They said, well, we could get you a bunch of different kinds. We could get you trucks, sedans, a van, so that you could get different weight, different hollowness or thickness. And I like what you said right there is that you could find those for me so that I would have different kinds of sounds. And now that was one thing I asked for in the beginning is that if I do this, can I get different kinds so that I would get different kinds of sounds? So, yeah, they were very accommodating to do that for me.
So we're in top secret recording area, all right? We're going to drop cars on cars. And we have microphones all over the place to capture all the impact sounds.
And I just want to spell out for the people listening because that haven't watched the footage. So the technique that you were using was you were using a forklift, lifting the cars up on the forklift with a strap around them, and then just with strength pulling on the strap until the car came off the forklift and fell down either straight onto the ground or onto another car. So it's not like they were in the cars like driving them and crashing them. They were lifting them on the forklift and dropping them. And
Yeah, when we picked up the with the forklift, I told him if you could teeter it forward enough that you don't need 10 men to pull the car down, but maybe two people can pull the car down, so that it's teeter enough. So of course we want pure crashing. We don't want the sounds of a forklift engine on, exhaust on, just a pure crash. So yeah, by using the safety belts and long, thick ropes, we could pull them down, be in a safe distance to do so.
yeah, what other safety considerations did you have as you were setting it all up?
Well, I just told the guys that let's watch how the cars crash first, and then we'll figure out. Don't get any closer than that. And those guys who work at the junkyard, own the junkyard, they know that how close to get because they've seen accidents, things like that. So. One of the things I was hoping to find when I was scouring the world is that I could find a crane that could really pick up the car really high.
Yeah, big magnet.
Exactly, and just release. But the problem is that if you drop them really high, the cars they're almost like American footballs. They don't land in the same place every time. They're gonna bounce all over the place, which could be far more dangerous. And I love my microphones, the Sennheisers, the Neumanns, and things like that. So yeah, we figure out if we could drop from here, we could still keep it under control and do it again all day long.
Was this your first time dropping cars with this technique?
No, it's actually my second time. Other times was more like experiments, and the option was there, the availability was there, so I went ahead and tried it. So I've done some libraries where I may design crash sounds. But yeah, this is the thinking out loud, thinking creatively. How can I get pure crash sounds without any engine sounds? So yeah,
Yeah.
a long time ago, I did work in a warehouse briefly, and I did operate in a forklift. So I knew that you could tilt the forklift. So, well, we'll give this a try and see how it goes. And the owner's sons were there, big guys. So they helped my friends out who could pull the ropes together to get the car down. So it worked out really well.
How big of a crew was it? How many of you were out there working?
I brought 3 guys with me, and the owner had his 2 sons. So yeah, we just interchanged. And then when my levels were great, sounding good, I went ahead and chipped in as well. Because I wanted a chance to pull down the car too. And do that.
And what was your mic setup for the car drops?
Well, knowing that again, cars won't drop perfectly all the time, I chose a Audio Technica BP 4025, an XY stereo mic, just in case the car went to the side, and I did use my Sennheiser 14S MS mic. Used the Pearl as well, and also the Neumann 82i shotgun mic. Yeah, so that you could get all the coverages from XY, MS, and direct mono shotgun. Yeah.
And then do you want to tell us the story of the microphone that you put inside one or two of the cars?
Oh yeah. This is.
That's what I was going to ask. Did you have some stunt mics going on?
Oh yeah. So prior to this, I asked Rode Microphones if they could cut certain microphones for me to make them smaller, so I could conceal them maybe in the back seats or on the dashboard of vehicles. And instead of doing that, they went so far as to design 2 new microphones for me, and they are very kind to name it after me. So there's the Rode Woo 1 Omni dynamic microphones. And I said, "Hey guys, that's so cool, but I'm probably gonna kill these mics. I put them in the vehicles and dropping them." And they said, "We don't care." I think they thought it was just so cool. If I kill the microphones, they would make more. So yeah, they were so kind. So I thought about it. If I put in a car, I wouldn't want cardioid. I want Omni, so I could pick up all the sounds from crashing the vehicles and the dynamic to be able to handle the high SPL.
Did you have to put a recorder up there with them too?
No, I ran a real long XLR cables into it. I used actually some of my cheaper XLR cables, no Mogami cables, no canaries.
That's smart.
But I have other ones that are inexpensive and they sound great. Most people can't tell the differences between that and a canary or Mogami. And you know what? Those mic cables survived also. So I was very surprised. So yeah, I tethered the mic with the cable, and if you watch certain parts of the videos, you'll see that the cable is hanging on the left side of the video, so that somebody's holding the cable and just sort of like letting it drop, it's almost like a cast net when you go fishing. You holding up to the rope so that it doesn't go all the way out, and you lose the entire cast net. So. And I told the guy who was holding the cables, don't hold on to it. It's going to drag you to the car. So, but just let it go where it's going far enough, but not all the way. So, because I knew it would probably get pinched, and we might have to cut some of the cables and start over again. So I brought much more of the inexpensive XLR cables. Yeah. So, yeah, the Omni Dynamic. Yeah, I knew it would do well. I didn't know how well it would do. So great experiments. I wanted that in-your-face car crash sound to add it to the mix, even though it was a third-person point of view. And I think it really worked out. I mean, playback, it was scary. It was literally like you were in a car accident. Just somebody punching your face in a car.
Wow.
It's got you kind of scary sounding, but they love the sound. It's great.
How did you approach level setting? Did you do you approach your limiters at all, or do you cut with a whole lot of headroom on it?
I knew that from my experience, I did not need limiters. For that session, I used my 788T SSD sound devices, and so that I didn't need it. Now, if the cars were dropped from a crane a lot higher, yeah, then I would use my 442 mixers or 744 recorder for the very close perspectives. But yeah, I just by ear. A lot of things just by ear. Turning the gain up and down to find the sweet spots. Just from the experience of that.
So how many cars did you drop to figure out and set your levels?
One car. Yeah.
After the first car, you were good to go.
Yeah, right during the first car, I was ready to go. I knew that from dropping out of height, nothing was going to go higher, and the truck was already very heavy, so that I right away could set my gain very very easily, just from the experiments I've done.
That's cool.
Thanks.
How long was a reset? Once a car has been dropped and it's on the ground, like how long until you can get another one up?
The owner, is a very good operator of the forklift, so he was able to get it up within a few minutes.
Wow.
So once a car drops, you want to definitely, if it's still in the right position, you could then, tie the safety rope to the backside from the people pulling the rope. That way, when they pull, it's gonna tumble, which is one of the things we want to do. So, yeah, once you set the rope up, and then the forklift operator could back up and raise the car up again and teeter it for the next drop.
How many times did you drop each car?
Wow. Let's see. I think we did about 8 hours. We just kept going.
I would.
Yeah, why not? We did so much that you couldn't recognize that it was a van or that was a truck. So
So I guess what I'm asking, is there a point of diminishing returns where like the first time you drop it, you get great crunches and then after a while it's crunched up enough that it just kind of smacks, or
Yeah.
does it keep offering new sounds each time?
Most of the time, it kept offering new sounds. Especially if you tumble. Tumble is always an unknown. How will it drop? Will it drop this way, or keep tumbling when it hits the ground?
So when you say tumble, you mean kind of making it roll? Is that what you mean?
So if you pull, if I was pulling the car from the ground, and I see the vehicle in front of me up on the forklift, I want the rope to be tied to the back end away from me. So when I pull, the car coming down, it's going to roll towards me. So it's not just come straight down as though you were just pulling from the front end. So if you pull from the back end, you're going to roll the car almost in the air. So when it hits the ground, it's going to keep rolling. That way you're going to get more crunching sounds, more glass breaking, more metal grinds. And that just makes it more authentic. If you've seen horrific videos of accidents on YouTube or on news, the cars, they don't just hit and stop. They hit and roll. So that was my idea, is that, hey, let's get this rolling, because based on the videos from the game company, the car crashes. They don't just sit there. They roll and move. They're going to go down the hill, down the creek, down the mountainside. So we all of that, as much as possible.
Did any of the rolls like surprise you as far as where the car ended up landing or where it ended up stopping?
Yeah. There were fails where we were dropping them next to the one of the big dumpsters they had, and it went into the dumpster. It didn't hit the car below it. So it's like, wow, it's almost like doing a skateboard grind. It's grinding on the dumpster and keeps moving away, and it's going into the dumpster instead of under the ground. And there was another time where the van was coming down. It crashed onto the car, but it kept rolling, and it came within like a foot of my beloved Sennheiser 418S. That's another favorite mic of mine. And we're like, whoa. It's like, hey, guys, just don't go near it. Don't try to save the mic if it's coming towards the mic. You want to save yourself. So, that was a scary moment when it kept going. But at the end, it stopped short before hitting the mic and the mic stand. So, that was a relief.
So how does a setup like that compare to, say, a weapon shoot? Because in both cases, it seems like you're dealing with, limited iterations, right? Because weapons, cost money to fire, and you also got a really transient sound. You're out in space. I've seen people, take Nagras out and take tape decks out to record weapons with. Did you approach it in a similar way with regards to the vehicles?
Yes and no. So, weapons to me are very controlled. My armor guys are very good. I tell them to shoot, they shoot. I tell them put it on safe, they put it on safe. I tell them to angle a little more to the left, 2 inches more to the left, and they do so. They're very good at what they do. I tell them fire, they wait a few seconds of silence, then they shoot. They don't fire right away when I say fire. So they're very good, and I appreciate them doing that. For all distances of weapons, it's always fixed for what I do. I know some people will record weapons. Let's say it's a full automatic. They'll record from that same position, and then when it's all done, they got what they wanted. They'll have the shooter walk, maybe 10 yards further away to get more the middle and far perspectives of that same weapon. I do mostly fixed position. I have the shooter stay at the same place the whole time, because I know that far distance microphone sounds great from that position, that exact position. So if you move further away to the left and right, well, they sound kind of boring, and so the sweet spots are gone. Whereas dropping cars, it's middle distance and far. So hence, that's why I brought the XY and the MS microphone, so that if it drops more to the right or more to the left, those mics will capture those sounds. So The car crashing, it's a lot more hit and miss, whereas weapons, I'm getting exactly what I want based on my fixed positions. So you want to capture as much as possible for both weapons and car crashes versus vehicle sounds. Trying to avoid wind sounds, trying to avoid road noise for onboard vehicles. So yeah, two very different approaches.
Can we just unpack something you said a little bit earlier in that answer? You talked about when you're recording weapons, you really trust your armors. Is that because you've coached them up, or did they come ready to go? Like how much training did you have to do to get them to be so reliable?
Some are better than others as far as teachable. Yeah, no, it's like I when I spoke in a particular conference, I said, don't bring special forces with you for a gun shoot because they they're trained to shoot and change magazines so quickly that single pure gunshot is not usable. So you want to bring guys who work with TV shows and movies and sound, for example. So when I say shoot, they wait, or when they hear airplane, they stop shooting. Right? And so these guys with electronic earmuffs, they can hear normal sounds, but when the gunshot goes off, something loud, those hearing areas shut off. So those guys are aware that I don't want airplanes in my recordings, right, guys? So some of them I coach them a few times and they got it. Some of them I have to remind them once in a while, but I've encountered some that are not teachable. It's like, hey, when the gunshot goes off, especially in the desert, we have 14 seconds of a reverb. So you gotta have patience. Don't move. Don't do heavy breathing until I say okay. So if you watch the other videos, you'll see me doing the cue of fire, shoot, and when the echo finally dies off, I say okay. Then they relax or change the magazine or breathe. So yeah, some guys are easier than others, and I have found really good guys.
And was it similar direction with the card drops? Was everyone basically following your command as far as when they could make noise again and move at the end of a card roll?
Yeah. Right away in the beginning, everybody gets excited. When the car crashes, you want to run up there with your own smartphone and take videos of the destruction. So I told those guys right away after the first job, hey, don't move until I say okay, because those microphones will pick up what you're doing. And I tell them, I could hear your heartbeat, I could hear your breathing from that particular mic. So then they believe me and they stay quiet like I'm like a little mouse. So yeah, so those guys were right away, they got what I was doing and they stayed very quiet until I said okay. So
Can you coach up that cat to follow?
yeah, that cat. Hey, quiet.
Now, Tonebenders has got a long history of cats and dogs in the backgrounds of interviews. So that cat is more than welcome.
Yeah, sure.
How did you approach monitoring? What kind of headphones do you use? Do you wear headphones when you're doing that kind of work? Like, how do you approach your listening situation?
For the vehicle crashes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I use the remote audio headphones. They basically have this Sony, speakers inside. It's 7506, and the remote audio high noise model. They're very good for. They're made for gunshots, mace cars, aircraft. So, and if I'm in a noisy environment with a lot of people, traffic, if I want to do playback, those are the best headphones to use. And you could scream all you want and shout. I could still hear when I'm doing playback. So yeah, those headphones are really necessary to hear all the details of what each of the microphones picking up. So yeah, I have two pairs of those, and they're fantastic for really critical listening. They're very flat, so they're not like Beats or Bose. They're true to what you hear in real life in my ears. So
Do you get fatigued easily wearing them? Like the anyone who's not familiar with these headphones, they're they're super closed. They're heavy headphones on your head. Do your ears just start sweating like crazy? Are they
Yeah.
fatiguing?
I sweat very easily, and so yeah. Some days are better than others. I could wear them longer, but if you attend any of my weapon shoots, for example, I'm taking them off. I'm putting them back on. I'll take the right cup off and listen to each cup individually sometimes, just to change up the sounds. I want to hear what's around me and also what I'm hearing through the microphones. So yeah, I move them around. I don't put them on the entire time, just to hear what's going on. Um, so I might hear something different from hearing it outside versus putting them on, and I'll switch the microphones around. I'll change the angles and the distances. So yeah, those are great. But yeah, they are tight. Certain people can't wear them. Certain people could wear them all day, and I think I've gotten used to them. I think with a baseball cap, they work better. Being bald, they sort of, yeah, they could pinch you more than people like Renee. Renee has a nice head of hair, so he could probably wear those longer than I can.
I'll tell you something. They are not comfortable if you're wearing glasses.
Oh, I
Yeah,
bet
yeah.
not.
Yeah, I've tried to deal with them, and I either have to fly blind or deaf with those. I can't be seeing and hearing at the same time with those ones.
Yeah. I've tried a really inexpensive Elysis. Remember the brand Elysis?
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
have like this cheap headphones that are made for like drummers, and they actually work. They actually protect my ears, but you're not going to hear the full frequency that you can with the remote audio brand. So if you don't have the budget, the Elysis will protect your ears. I used it for my January shoot, and they worked out really well as a backup. So I was like, hey, let me try these now and see how they do. And I was able to hear and not hurt my ears. So they're more forgiving to put them on. So you, Timothy, might try them, for your glasses. Yeah,
They're on the list of things to look up.
yeah, I'm gonna try. Or I know Shure has these SC 846 earbuds that could cut out as much as 37 decibels, which is unheard of.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
I'm going to get those pretty soon and try those and see how they fare for a weapon shoot or another crash session.
Yeah, I know Nathan Moody runs some of the in-ear monitors too. I forget what brand it is, but they're the brands that the Rockstar drummers all wear. They're pricey, but they do the same thing. They just knock out all the sound.
Cool. Yeah, I've tried a few and I wasn't happy, but I heard good things about the Shure SC 846, so I'm dying to try them.
So, what was the post production process like? Did you find anything interesting once you kind of got all the sounds back into the studio and started cutting them up?
Yeah, I found that sometimes you could really raise the gain more to get that almost like that controlled distortion sound.
Hmm.
So I found that over the years of recording weapons and other loud things that you could really push the preamp, and sometimes you could push the limiters even more. So what no matter what the wave file may look like, it looks horrible compared to what we were trained from the music engineer point of view. They may look horrible, but they sound great. So it's not about how they look; it's how do they sound to you? Can you use it? So if you use a lot of channels, so what if two of the channels are distorting? But are they good distortions? Can you add them to the mix? And yeah, I found it out that some of the things you could do, like the Audio Technica BP 4025, it's a very sensitive mic. I never use it for close or medium perspectives or weapon shoots because it can't handle it. But if you use it far enough, some of that distortion sound is pretty good, pretty usable. So I am very happy with certain things I capture out there.
Yeah,
Sometimes happy accidents.
I'm reminded of the Dice weapon sessions where they had, I guess, the video camera just crap mic, and that thing sounded great too, as it was just splatting and blowing out everywhere.
Oh yeah. Ben Minto, he was telling me he loves some of those auto limiting from like the Canon point and shoot cameras.
Yeah.
And at certain moments, they do sound incredible. I've used them many times to do behind the scenes. I'm like, well, that's usable. We're going to take that. We're going to take that overly compressed sound and use it in the game or whatever we're doing. So he's right. It's about what you can get, at the moment.
So when you were finished recording all these sessions and you load them up into your DAW, how many gigs of stuff did you end up recording with all these different mics?
Oh, I don't remember. It was so much. For a lot of times when I'm working on a medium or big budget game or film, I just buy a brand new external hard drive, like a 2 or 4 terabyte Western Digital Passport. And for the weapon shoot, I literally hand a copy to the client. A lot of, most weapon shoots, the client want to be there. It's like what Renee says. If it's a crash session or weapon session, it is every sound designer's dream to do that. So they want to attend. So they get a copy, I get a copy for safekeeping, just in case. So I'm going to say it was under a terabyte, of raw recordings. But yeah, it was a lot to document and to really correctly name and to for the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many days did you spend documenting it all, like just getting all the metadata in? Like I can't even imagine that.
Depends on what I'm doing. A lot of times I'll speak to the mic what I'm doing before and afterwards. And afterwards, it's because either I missed it at the beginning or there's something happened. I'll say at the end of the take, I'll say, hey, that sound at the end, it's the tire jumping out of the car and rolling to the right and spinning until it stops spinning around. So I might say stuff like that at the end, but a lot of times I'll say in the beginning, okay, take 1, Dodge truck falling on Chevy van, things like that. So that way, when I listen back, I'll go, hey, that's what that sounded like. I remember that moment. It was tumbling on top of the van. I like that sound a lot. I'll remember that for next time, to do it like that. So right away, when I copy files, I make a folder, and I'll say maybe 788 for the recorder, underscore, and I'll put the order of microphones just for the folder. That way the folder is already named for that particular recorder microphones, and I can copy and paste. That way I don't have to make the spreadsheet right away, and it's already organized, and then do so with the next recorder. And then when that's all done, then I'll make text files or spreadsheets to document what's going on, what the microphones were used, how far were they, what position were they from the shooter's point of view, for example, from the driver's point of view. So all those things, that way the designers could say, hey, for the next project, can we use these? We really like what you did here. So I think that's just very valuable. That way, 20 years from now, we could all recall what we did based on voice slate and documentations.
Yeah, that's the huge thing, and it's something that, when people are starting out, sometimes they can get a little sloppy or a little lazy with regards to how they slate their stuff. But the whole tail slate thing is just such an important thing that a lot of people don't even think about, that they don't recognize that they can do. Is, you can't anticipate what's going to happen in the future, so you can try and slate things as you anticipate them. But if something unexpected happens, to stay in the moment, let the thing finish happening, and then describe it straight into the microphone, and then before you hit stop, it's such a huge valuable thing, because inevitably, as hours and minutes and days roll by, you're going to forget the details of everything that happened, and having that kind of documentation is just super key later on.
Exactly. Yeah, I've done some recent jobs, some design work where client says, "Hey, we need some animal sounds. Do you have these?" I said, "You know what? I did this like 20 years ago." So I looked at my drives and found some, and I heard myself in the recording saying, "Hey, this is the name of this chick.
This is young Watson.
Yeah, this is Watson with some head hair, and this is the name of this chicken is Chester, and and so I heard myself say, 418S using a Fostex FR2, and that's still a great sounding recorder. So so those recordings, they still sound like they're modern, not from a tape, and they're very usable for my client for design work. So yeah, doing stuff like that it's really valuable because who knows what 20 years later you might need some of those sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have a slate mic at the table when you're recording guns, for instance, or are you just yelling out into the field these slates?
If it's a setup like that, like weapons or crash session, I typically try to sit close to one of the mics, one of the mid-distance microphones. I know where I'm safe. So if the cart drops and tumbles many times, I'm still going to be okay. Hopefully maybe that table I'm sitting by will protect me. Or I'll put a system.
A table full of hundreds of thousands, well, not hundreds,
Exactly.
thousands and thousands of dollars worth of gear.
Yeah, or I could put Jason, my assistant, in front of me, so he could.
Oh, perfect.
He could take it for me. So, yeah, I try to sit close to one of the mid-distance microphones, so I could say and speak out loud. Well, a lot of these old recorders don't have a slate mic built in that you could toggle off like you do with a Mix Pre or FAN. So you do have to speak into the mic. So yeah, I try to always sit by a mid-distance mic so I could, say what's going on.
Watson, thank you very much for sitting in with us today. You told us a lot of really cool things that I'd never thought of. Your idea of tying the rope to the back of the car before you pull it is really good. I'm not sure I would have trashed at least 7 cars before I would have thought of that one. So that's really good. I want to thank you for coming back on the podcast. You were on an earlier episode, our roundtable about recording vehicles. And I just want to thank you for coming on again and hope that we have you on again sometime soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I always have a good time listening to you guys, valuable information. Yeah. I want to, a while ago when I was, on the podcast with the vehicles roundtable, the right people heard and they liked what I said, I guess, based on my vehicle recording experience. And they decided to hire me just from hearing your program about my approach and how I record and how I document. And so I really appreciate that. You guys made a difference for me.
Wow, that's awesome.
And that's really awesome. So you got to do all the vehicle recordings for Baby Driver through that?
Yeah, I did the stunt vehicle recordings after the shoot. So when they stopped filming, that's when I came in to record with the stunt driver.
That's awesome. So you were recording during production for that?
Yeah, during production.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. That's really cool. I love that movie. That's one of my favorites.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great film to work on and to watch over again. I'm pretty blessed to got to work on it.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for jumping on, Watson. This was awesome. It's a huge inspiration for me. I'm going to go keep trying to work my contacts. I will find somebody with a junkyard and a forklift at some point in my life before I die. And I'm going to follow in your footsteps on this one.
Sounds good. And you remember that no, when they say no means not today, not this week, not this month. Just ask them again. Do something. Give them a gift certificate, buy them lunch. You want to make friends with these people so they remember you on a first name basis. So that, hey, yeah, Renee, I remember you. Yeah, my junkyard, it's free now. You can do that. How much are you going to pay me? And let's do it.
Yeah.
So they want to know. They want to know that you're serious. What you do. You're not going to fool around. That you're literally there to capture great sounds for what you do.
Yeah.
So they have to understand that.
I am inspired. I'm gonna go start calling people.
Do it. You can get other recorders involved, and there are people who are like, you want to do that? Yeah, let's do it. And they a lot of times they'll do it for free, or they'll have you just pay for that one car. How much is a junked up Dodge? Think about it. It's kind of worthless.
Yeah.
If you pay for their time and fuel, it may be a lot less than what I pay for. So I would do it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Renee, when you get it set up, give me a week's notice.
You know, Tim and I have still never met, so there's an excuse.
It's great.
So I'd like to give a special shout out to João Bastos, a freelance sound designer and sound editor working from Porto, Portugal. He did the editorial on this particular episode. He's a big fan of the podcast, and he was the volunteer, and we're very appreciative to him of that. The easy way to connect with him for work or not is via his Instagram at João PM Bastos. That's JOAOPMBASTOS on Instagram.
Tonebenders is produced by Timothy Muirhead, Renee Coronado, and Teresa Morrow. Theme music is by Mark Strait. Send your emails to info@tonebenderspodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter via @thetonebenders and join Tonebenders Podcast on Facebook. Support this podcast. You can use our links when you shop with Amazon or B&H, or leave us a tip. Just go to tonebenderspodcast.com and click the support button. Thanks for listening.